This is a pie that my husband and I came up with the flavor combination for, and I executed it for the first time a week ago, and it was amazing, and so I am making it again and sharing it with all of you. So we have to start by cooking down the pineapple a little bit. Pineapple is very fibrous and it holds its shape more. It takes a lot longer to cook and break down than peaches. Also, I want to impart it with rum without adding a bunch of moisture to the pie. So I want to cook this rum down quite a bit, also get a lot of the alcohol out. And so I'm starting with 3 tablespoons of butter. The pan is not yet hot, but I'm going to go ahead and add the pineapple anyway. This is 2½ cups of fresh pineapple cut into chunks. Adding a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And this is an unconventional ingredient, but trust it, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Okay, we are bubbling away. I do want to brown the pineapple just a little bit, bring out a little color before I do anything else. Cook out some of this moisture as well. I don't know how well the camera is picking this up, but the pineapple is getting translucent and the butter is browning just a little bit. And my lens is fogging up. And you can see, maybe you can see, you're getting also a little bit of color on the pineapple in places. That is your sign to add brown sugar. 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Don't add the brown sugar at the beginning because then it might burn. Get things a little too sticky too soon. What we're essentially doing here is creating a butterscotch with the brown sugar and the butter. Alright, and once this is all melted and getting sticky and bubbly and incorporated, we're going to add rum. 1/2 cup of rum.
Oh, are you interested?
So, see how wet this is? We do not want it to be this wet because then our pie will be a soup. So I'm going to cook this down until most of the rum has evaporated. A little bit of moisture is fine because we took a lot of juice out of the pineapple earlier. But we definitely want to cook this down so it's not raw alcohol and not all watery. So a couple notes on rum. If you want to make an alcohol-free version of this pie, just leave this rum out and stop the cooking process right after you add the brown sugar and yay, that'll be it. The rum, like, if you're worried about adding rum to the pie because you're worried it'll taste too much like alcohol, I don't really like the taste of alcohol myself, and I love this pie. Like, the rum, it imparts a little bit of a flavor, probably, but what it mostly does is it really amps up the pineapple and peach flavors. It's kind of like vanilla extract in that way, which vanilla extract itself is also alcohol, mostly, so yeah, that's its function. The other note I wanted to make on this rum is the way it looks right now, it looks very liquidy because of all the giant bubbles that it's creating. And this is deceptive. You might accidentally scorch or burn your mixture, so what I like to do every once in a while is I remove it from the heat just so I can assess how much liquid I actually have in the skillet once all the bubbles die down. And you want to have some liquid left in the skillet. I'd say at least 1/4 cup of liquid because, remember, 3 tablespoons of that is butter, which is technically not liquid, it's fat. And it's okay to have a little bit of liquid in here. So it looks like now we've got like probably at least 1/2 cup of liquid. It definitely needs to be reduced more. But now we have a better idea. Okay, I have been cooking this mixture now for about 10 to 15 minutes total. I've taken it off the heat and it's still bubbling pretty thickly. I can just tell from the feel of dragging my spoon through this that this liquid is quite thick now. And I'm going to call it done. So you want to set this aside and cool it to room temperature before you attempt to put it in a pie. So I have just poured it into the bowl that I'm going to mix my fruit in. This is also incidentally the bowl I use to make the pie crust. I'm not showing in this video how to make the pie crust because I've already done that in a couple other videos. I'll link my strawberry rhubarb pie video if you want to see how I make my pie crust. You basically just make a half recipe because we're only doing a bottom crust for this pie. Or, you know, realistically, I think most people would just buy an uncooked pie shell at the store. I'm not most people though. I like to play life on hard mode. Anyway, this can chill out for a while, and then I'll get the peaches ready. Alright, so how your oven is set up when you bake pies is actually pretty important. If you want to prevent a soggy bottom, put the rack on the bottom of the oven, and then I stick a cookie sheet underneath it, because Most pies will inevitably drip a little bit, so this will prevent your oven from getting dirty. And we are preheating the oven to something 425. All right, now I'm going to make the streusel or crumb topping for the pie. This is 6 tablespoons of softened butter, to which I'm going to add a pinch of salt and half a cup of brown sugar. I just used up the rest of my brown sugar. I need to buy more now. Streusel topping's interesting. It's kind of like making cookies without leavening, and then you just kind of crumble the mixture over the top of your pie or your coffee cake or whatever. I really like this streusel topping instead of a crust because it provides this really nice crunch contrast. The ice cream that this pie is based off of, we give that crunch with waffle cone. And I thought, oh, how can I put crunch into a pie? And I thought nuts could add crunch, but they would also add flavor, and I really wanted to amp up the brown sugar flavor, which is what makes this flavor combination so good. So I thought streusel topping. All right, and then about a scant cup of flour. I think last time I followed the recipe and added a whole cup of flour, and it was too much flour, so I'm doing like 3/4 to 7/8 of a cup of flour. And I should have used a bigger bowl. But we're gonna commit. So it should look just sort of like a crumbly cookie dough that's sort of coming together, but also not coming together, and it's fine if there's a little bit of flour poking out in places. There's our topping. All right, now I am ready to add the peaches. This isn't quite cool yet, but I am on a time schedule here, and I need to get this pie in the oven, so time to mix the fruit. So I've got peaches. You want to have about, in a fruit pie, you want 5 cups of fruit total. And this pineapple mixture has cooked down to about 1.5 to maybe 2-ish cups. So I'm looking for 3 to 3.5 cups of peaches, and usually that means about 3 to 4 peaches. I've got a 4th one on standby. So some people are fancy and they, poach the peaches to get the skin off. I just peel it off with my fingers, and for the most part, it actually works pretty decently to just do that. At least it did the last time I peeled peaches for this pie. It doesn't have to be super pretty, Just get in there, don't be afraid. And if that doesn't work, you can always get out a vegetable peeler and peel the peaches. Or honestly, you don't have to peel the peaches. It's a little bit better if you do, but it's really not necessary. Honestly, I think this is just as fast as using a vegetable peeler. And then I don't have to clean my vegetable peeler, and I don't risk cutting myself with my vegetable peeler because I'm clumsy. So, that's why I just use my hands. It makes the peach slightly dimpled, but it's all going to be cut up and in a pie anyway, so who cares? I'm going to start with 3 peaches, because I would hate to peel a 4th one to find that I don't need it, and then I'm stuck with a peeled peach. These, in theory, are freestone. We'll find out in a minute. This is not very freestone. All right, so we're going to cut around the pit, and now I'm getting juice everywhere. So a note on peaches. Do not, under any circumstances, use supermarket peaches. They have no flavor. Use local ones that are in season. Only make this pie in the summer. If you must not make this pie in the summer, or if peaches don't grow locally where you live, use frozen peaches. It's hard to get the pit out when it's not really a freestone. That's all right, it's going in a pie. I honestly never understood people when they make pies, cutting the fruit super pristinely. It's going to be in a pie. You're not even going to see it's cut pristinely, and it's all going to cook down kind of to mush anyway. God, these peaches are so juicy. It's great if you're just going to eat them if they're juicy, but if you're trying to cut them and put them in a pie after you've peeled them, it's pretty messy. All right, I'm going to cut and measure out these peaches. Again, I'm not too careful. I'm okay with some of the chunks being smaller and dissolving and making a mush, and some of them staying bigger. I like that variety, personally. All right, that has given me 3 cups of peaches. But it's a scant 3 cups, so you know what? I'm gonna do a 4th peach. And I'm gonna live on the wild side, and I'm not gonna peel this one. I just don't feel like it, and I think it would cut easier if I didn't peel it, and it would take less time. Hey, look, that one was actually kind of a freestone. Yay. And it's probably easier to de-pit them first and then attempt to peel the skin if you're going to peel it by hand like I am. This peach was getting a little more overripe towards the top, which is why it's easier to peel than the other ones were. Now you might think that the peach-pineapple ratio is a little off. There are more peaches than pineapple in this pie. That's because pineapple is just a lot more flavorful than peach, especially since we've cooked it down. Peach blood. If my countertop didn't have flour residue on it already, I would lick that up. Okay, no, I'm gonna eat some of this peach. Because it's delicious and because there's just a little too much. Oh, this peach is so good. Peaches go in, delicately give that a toss. So if you've made fruit pie before, you know that in a filling you add sugar and you add a little butter and you add flour or cornstarch or tapioca to thicken it. There's already sugar and butter in this that we added with the rum and pineapple. We're just gonna add a little more sugar, just a 1/4 cup of white sugar. And we're going to add, this is a little hack. I often add vanilla extract to my fruit pie fillings. It's like when you have, pie a la mode with vanilla ice cream. It adds that really nice touch. And as Future Canoe says, vanilla extract is dessert MSG. It really is. Like it amps up all dessert flavors. And then the last thing we're going to add is 2 tablespoons of flour. Now, this was the one element, the first time I made this pie, the one element that was not quite perfect. It was a little too thick. Now, this might look like an extremely soupy filling. It is an extremely soupy filling. But with 4 tablespoons of flour, I think the streusel topping soaked up a lot of the juice in this pie and made it a little dry inside. So I'm hoping that 2 tablespoons of flour will be the right amount. It might be too soupy, who knows? We will find out. All right, and then we're gonna let this sit for a few minutes while we prep our bottom crust. Get my countertop as dry as I can because I'm gonna roll it out on this countertop. If you are going with a store-bought crust, make sure it is raw. I think you can get those in like the frozen sections of grocery stores. I've never bought one because I'm a snob and I cook everything from scratch. All right, I'm going to do a simple fold over pleat thing. And no, we do not blind bake this crust. I hate blind baking crusts anyway, so that's just as well. And if you think I'm going to throw away these scraps, you're dead wrong. I'm going to save them and turn them into bonus pie. I have some other leftover pie dough scraps from the last time I made a pie, and I will combine them. All right, I'm actually not the best at this sort of thing, at making pie crust look super pretty. So it's really important that you scrape all of the liquid in here. You might think that'll just make it more watery, but actually there's a lot of flour in that liquid that I've scraped in, and it'll help thicken the pie. Now, like I said, I'm not very good at making pie crust pretty. And I'm just gonna roll it over a little bit and kind of crimp it while I'm rolling it. You know what? I'm not gonna crimp it, because like I said, I suck at crimping. Now, it's important to roll the edge crust over a little bit, because if you don't, it'll burn. You want that extra thick handle. And again, if you're using a store-bought crust, you don't have to worry about this. And then this is where you just crumble streusel on top. You want there to be some clumps of streusel and some, more sandy bits of streusel. It'll create this really nice textural contrast. And it's ready to go in the oven. After the pie has been in the oven for a half hour, lower the temp to 350, and let's just check on it. Oh, that is beautiful. It smells so good. Needs another half hour or so. All right, it's about 24 minutes after I lowered the oven temperature, and I like to at least check on the pie. And as you can see, it is spilling over, so that is why you use a cookie sheet. It smells great. It is still bubbling. This is where, it's kind of hard to tell when the pie is done. Usually when the juices are up and bubbling over like this, it's a good sign that it's almost done. And since I have a glass pie tin, I can look at the crust to see if it's starting to brown. But yeah, I think this could definitely use a few more minutes. You want the streusel topping to be browner, and it's browning in places, but it could use a little more time. And now the hardest part of all, waiting. This has to chill on a wire rack for at least 4 hours. I mean, if you're like me and you really like warm pie, yeah, you can cool this for maybe a half hour and cut into it when it's nice and warm. It's just the juices are going to sploosh out all over the place. So if you want it to be more contained, cool it for at least 4 hours, preferably 5 or 6. It really depends on how cool and aerated your kitchen is. Oh, it smells so good.
The one good part of Secret Wars, right?
Uh-huh.